The major reason for going to school is to get the impression fixed that there is a book set for everything. Yes, there is a book for everything. When you are happy, you have a book. When you are sad, you have a book to read. When you are worrying, you have a book to read. When you are frustrated, you have a book to read. Books are the only known doctors that can cure emotional illness. The more you read, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you yearn. So start reading, start learning, start yearning. Come on, let's get into today's class. In the previous class, we were discussing about a poem written by Robert Frost, a nature's poet we call him. He has written a poem on an amazing view of the nature in the winter. The title of the poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And in the previous class, we have completed 2 stanzas. The persona has came to a place and started looking at the woods. And it was the place where there were woods, and in other side there was a frozen lake. And the persona knew the owner of that wood. And he also knew that the owner of that wood is not here. He was in the village nearby. On his way home, the persona stopped the horse and started looking at the woods that were filled up with snow. It was an amazing view. It was an amazing view in the winter. In that frosty evening, he was happy to see those scenes. In that frosty evening, the persona wanted to stay there to enjoy the nature. Let us see what happened then. We are going to discuss the 3rd stanza and 4th stanza today. The 3rd stanza here. He gives his harness bells a shake. He gives his harness bells a shake. He, here it represents horse. Horse gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. Is there a mistake? Why have you stopped here? We don't have a farmhouse near. There were only frozen lake and the woods. Why have you stopped here? These lines tell about the view of the horse. He has used he to represent horse, and this thing is called personification. Personification is about giving the human-like attitudes to a non-human. Here, human-like word he is given to horse. He gives his harness bells a shake. Around the neck of every horse, there will be a band of bells. And that dangles in most of the horses. The horse just moved its head, and that gives a harness bells a shake. And the persona means that he acted like this to ask if there is some mistake. If they have mistakenly stopped in a place where there were no farmhouses. Then the next line. The only other sound is the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The only other sound, there was no sound. It was so silent. The only other sound is the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The sweep of easy wind and downy flake is a metaphor. A poetic device called metaphor. Metaphor is a poetic device that is used to represent one kind of thing with another word. Here he has used sweep. Sweep of easy wind. Sweep, which means cleaning off dirt, cleaning off solid objects. But here the poet has used the word sweep to represent the movements. The movements of easy wind and downy flake was the only sound there. That stanza tells about the viewpoint of the horse. Let us move to the 4th stanza. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. The wood is the small piece of land with some grown-up trees. And the woods he was looking at are lovely, dark. It was during the winter season, it was so dark and deep. Deep that it holds some feelings. But I have promises to keep. Persona was amused by its view and he wanted to stay there. But he had some other job to do. He had promises to keep. Promises, it represents the responsibilities of the persona. He had to earn a living, he had to earn for the food, clothing and shelter and for the education. So he cannot stay there, he knew it. And he said, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. He represents his life's journey. The word miles, that represents life's journey. He had a lot of things to do before he goes to sleep. Sleep, which represents death. Miles, it represents life's journey. The journey of life. He has to go a lot before he dies. And this thing is a metaphor. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. And the person started his journey to way home. It was such a wonderful perspective about the nature. We have in life very less time to enjoy the nature. So never fail to enjoy the view of nature. Look around the things that nature had created for you and start enjoy being with nature. And that's the end of today's class. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have understood it really well. See you again in the next video.